changing economic and public finance situation is entirely due to international circumstances. There is the whole issue of domestic decision making, and indeed the Taoiseach's own management of this whole area, I think, that requires to be debated here. The downturn in the revenues, capital gains tax, stamp duties and so on are intimately related to what has been happening in the property market, stamp duty issues and so on. And I think that does need to be debated. I see you shaking your head, Ceann Comhairle, and I understand why, but I do think this needs to be debated. I do think this needs to be debated.
Gilmore, is that we understand one another.
It's always helpful. I think it's always advisable to be a step ahead of the chair. We do need a debate here. I do want to ask the Taoiseach, though, in relation to that, if there are any plans to introduce supplementary estimates arising from the changes that we're seeing. The other two matters that I want to raise, Ceann Comhairle, are, first of all, the Civil Unions Bill, which I see reports is being prepared now by the government. And I recall that when the Labour Party Civil Unions Bill was before the House, there was a promise that the heads of the government's legislation would be published. At that time, the promise was end of February or March. Don't want to quibble about the month, but I want to ask the Taoiseach, is it still intended to publish the heads of the legislation, and when will we see them? And thirdly, I want to raise the Electoral Amendment Bill, which is listed for publication this session. Now, this is the bill to bring in the revised Dáil and European Parliament constituencies. Now, on previous occasions, when legislation of this kind was being introduced to implement the report of a boundary commission, it was done on a standalone basis. In other words, simply the new constituencies. I see from the list that what is intended this time is to implement the recommendations of the Constituency Commission, to revise the procedures in relation to the establishment of future commissions, and to deal with other electoral matters requiring to be addressed in advance of the 2009 European and local elections. So I have two questions relating to that. First of all, what are these other matters that are required to be addressed before the 2009 elections? And secondly, why isn't the Boundary Commission report being introduced on a standalone basis?
The legislation, if possible. Sorry, Deputy Gilmore, on the same subject, sorry.
Unpromised legislation.
Ceann Comhairle, there were a couple of other issues that I asked the Taoiseach about, and could I just perhaps, give him a small bit of counsel that whatever he's promising over the next couple of weeks, I don't think it would be advisable to promise changes in constituency boundaries to any of your colleagues.